Officially, let me welcome you to the Raisina Dialogue 2018, and let me first invite the Chairman of Observer Research Foundation, Mr. Sanjay Joshi, to deliver the welcome remarks. Mr. Joshi.
Shri Narendra Modi ji, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, Honorable Prime Minister of Israel, Madam Sarah Netanyahu, Srimati Sushma Swaraj ji, External Affairs Minister of India, distinguished presidents, prime ministers, ministers, excellencies, delegates and experts from the world over who've gathered here, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the third edition of the Raisina Dialogue 2018, co-hosted by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Observer Research Foundation. This year we have the special privilege and honor of welcoming both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Prime Minister Modi in our midst today. And as we welcome both leaders, I am reminded of Prime Minister Modi's words during the first ever visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Israel just 6 months ago. Sir, you had said, India and Israel are connected not only historically, but they're also connected culturally. Both are partners in human value and human legacy. Both the countries know how to respect their traditions and how to overcome difficult circumstances. I recall those words because they are very relevant to this dialogue and its theme today. 2 years ago, under the initiative of Prime Minister Modi's government, this dialogue was curated as a platform where the old and the new, the traditional and the modern, could discover their interdependence in forging a common, shared future for the world. The partnership of human values and human legacy you spoke about are the wellsprings that give nations resilience, the strength to confront the turbulence that is buffeting this troubled world. And these words also emphasize the importance of the theme we are managing today. We're talking about managing disruptive transitions, the need to debate the ideas, the institutions, and the idioms that will create the paradigms that will take the world to the next level. The pace of change induced by technological innovation is unprecedented. It is transforming the way humans interact, altering the way businesses and communities are organized, and societies and nations can find themselves responding to these in very unpredictable ways. Prime Minister Netanyahu leads a nation that is no stranger to volatility, and yet has successfully managed to provide growth, prosperity, and security to his people in an extremely turbulent region. From technological innovations that have ensured food and water security in a parched environment, to creating one of the most vibrant startup ecosystems nurtured by a world-class defense and technology industry, the prowess of Israel has made light of the greatest challenges to the security and well-being of his people. And Prime Minister Netanyahu, when speaking of the partnership between our two countries, had evoked his daringly simple mathematical formula for success, I2T2. Indian talent times Israeli technology. Implement this formula and the result is exponential. We indeed find ourselves in a world which promises exponential jumps in knowledge systems, possible through previously unimaginable collaborative frameworks, collaborative networks across diverse cultures, societies, and nations that link man and machine today. Sometimes these can be a source of disruption, but managed well, they can be a source for exponential growth. The presence of both Prime Ministers here serves to remind us of the importance of partnerships where our diversity, the uniqueness of each, gives us strength multiplied several times over. And at the Raisina Dialogue, we celebrate diversity. This year, we have brought together more than 500 leaders, thinkers, and practitioners from 90 countries who over the next 3 days will be engaged in intense conversations on an expansive host of issues confronting the world. And in the presence of these two prime ministers who have time and again underscored the role of youth in spurring innovation, I would especially like to point out the 49 young Raisina fellows in the audience this evening. They are right in that corner. They represent amongst them 29 countries and are to become part of a 1,500 strong alumni network spread across 80 countries, including, sir, Israel. And our Young Fellows program, they will join our conversations and hopefully even disrupt them with their sharp critiques of conventional interpretations and beliefs. That is what we hope. And there is no better way to commence these conversations at the Raisina Dialogue than to have Prime Minister Netanyahu deliver tonight's inaugural address. We are honored and privileged by this opportunity, sir. Prime Minister Netanyahu, may I request you to take the floor, sir.
Namaste. Prime Minister Modi, my dear friend, Israel's dear friend, thank you on behalf of the people of Israel for the exceptional welcome that you are giving us and the opportunity to address this forum with the distinguished guests that are here from so many nations, from India and from Israel. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for this unbelievably moving visit. And thank you for the opportunity also to address the challenges that face the future and how together we can work to achieve prosperity, security, and peace. I want to tell you first how we in Israel overcame our challenge. We're tiny people, live in a small country, somewhat smaller than India, a lot smaller than India, no natural resources, no great rivers. Well, the Jordan is a great river, but it's a stream, it trickles. And yet we've become, I think, a force to contend with on the world scene. And I would like to describe to you the process that we went through and then discuss what we could do together. I was thinking about the journey that we made yesterday in that magnificent ceremony in the President's house. And I was thinking that 75 years ago, our people were like a wind-tossed leaf. A third of our people were destroyed in heaps of ashes. And yet there I was standing representing the Jewish people in this great nation of India, one of the great powers on earth. What led to this transformation? It was our understanding of the principal lesson of Jewish history and also a simple lesson in our turbulent region. And it is this: the weak don't survive. The strong survive. You make peace with the strong. You make alliances with the strong. You're able to maintain peace by being strong. And therefore, the first requirement of Israel from the time of our first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, was to achieve the minimal strength that is required to assure our existence. Now, what is the source of strength? Various questions arise about what is the nature of power. There's soft power, there's hard power. I like soft power. Hard power is often better. What does it mean? What does it mean to have power? Well, the first prerequisite is military power. You need F-35s, you need submarines, you need interceptors, you need cyber, you need intelligence. In the case of Israel, you need a lot of intelligence to compensate for our size. There's one thing that characterizes all the things that I just mentioned. They cost money. a lot of money. And as time goes by, they cost more and more money. So defense, the prerequisite of security, and security always comes first. Defense costs a great deal of money, as does education, as does health, as does infrastructure, all the requirements that our people justly deserve once we provide security. Where does the money come from? It comes from the second source of power, that is economic power. I view the requirements of securing our future as dependent on three sources of power: military power, now economic power. How do you get economic power? Surely you need education. Prime Minister Modi and I were talking about how we educate our youth. In the case of Israel, there is one big education machine. It's called the Israeli Defense Force. And everyone comes in and we give training, we give technology, we give an assessment, an understanding of the main techniques of technology that are important for the future, also for the civilian future. And yet, we have seen other societies that have had educated people, highly educated people, extraordinary mathematicians, physicists, metallurgists, that didn't achieve economic power. In fact, they collapsed. I'm talking about the former Soviet Union. But if you took, in Soviet times, if you took one of these mathematicians and spirited him away, or her, to California, to Silicon Valley, they would be producing value within 2 weeks. Because the requirement, the necessary requirement for the development of technology, innovation, ingenuity, the necessary requirement are free markets, or freer markets. Technology and value added is produced by firms. Firms produce technology. They perfect it, they multiply it, they reinvent. Firms are critical. And therefore the technology, the policy that produces growth and gives you competitive advantage is the economic policy that makes it possible for firms to do business. It's called being business friendly. I have to say that I was absolutely astounded when I learned yesterday that Prime Minister Modi has moved India on the scale of the ease of doing business 42 places in 3 years. Prime Minister Modi understands exactly what I'm talking about. In other words, if you want to have economic power, you must reduce taxes, simplify taxes, and you must cut bureaucracy. Government can facilitate economic growth. Government can block economic growth. In our cases, Israel and India, we don't have any bureaucracy to contend with. You know that. So a main job of the leaders of both India and Israel is to reduce this bureaucracy, to cut it, as I call it, with a machete, with an axe, so that the firms can go on with their business of doing business. This gives strength. We've done this in Israel. We've transformed an economy that was very centralized and very bureaucratized into a free market economy that allows the technological genius of our people and our young people to flower. This is what starts the startups. Startups are made by young people, thousands of them. The minute we created this climate of creativity and entrepreneurship, the talents burst forth. I believe that this second power is critical to the first. I believe that the growth of military power and military influence is dependent ultimately on economic power. And economic power facilitates also all the elements of life that we need. We have achieved that transition to a more liberal economy. And we are absolutely committed to continuing on this path because we know we're in a never-ending race. The exponential growth that you talked about is achieved today by the confluence of big data, creativity, or rather big data connectivity and artificial intelligence. The countries that will seize the future are those that will innovate along these lines. The future belongs to those who innovate. Those who innovate will innovate in freer market terms. And this is what we all must do. We are doing it, India is doing it. Now, having established our military power and our economic power, we are now developing our third power. And the third power is political power. By political power, I mean the ability to make political alliances and relationships with many other countries. In the last year alone, I visited 6 continents. In obviously Asia, Africa, Europe. Africa I visited 3 times in 18 months. South America, and of course, North America. And Australia. So all 6. And we have a growing number of countries with whom we have trade relations, cultural relations, technological relations, security relations. This is very important for us in order to broaden our position in the world, in order to have the kind of relations that ultimately secure your future. Military power, economic power, political power. But there is, I believe, a 4th power. And the 4th power is the power of our values, of our tradition. I was asked by African leaders, I was asked in a symposium in the UN about Israeli technologies that is helping change Africa. I was asked, what is the secret of Israel? You know, we create a lot of problems in Africa, he said, and you come and you create solutions with us. What is your secret? You're such a small country. How do you do this? And I said, look, we are a special people. We are like a tree that has deep roots in our ancient soil, our ancient tradition, yet we throw up leaves to the heavens. We keep searching, keep inquiring, keep looking for new ways. The branches go up to the sky and the roots are deep in the earth. I believe that this is the secret of Israel. I also believe it's the secret of India. It's exactly the same thing. Powerful traditions, ancient cultures of which we are so deeply proud, and yet these inquiring minds that reach out for the sky, reach out for new solutions to new problems all the time. And I think this characterizes our 2 peoples. But I believe too that there's one thing else that binds us together. And I think perhaps it is the most important of all. We have a special relationship among the many countries. We have a special relationship to democracies. India is the world's most populous democracy. It is a place which shows that humanity can be governed with freedom, that we can secure the rights of people, those things that make life worthwhile, the ability to think as we want, speak as we want, believe what we want. In a society that is pluralistic, diverse, and free, this is what India is about. This is what Israel is about. So the 4th thing that binds us together is our values, and the most important value is the value of democracy. Now, I believe that this is not merely a passing thing. We're now moving from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. We have an exceptional relationship with a democracy called the United States of America. We have exceptional relationships with a democracy called Canada and other countries. The reason I mention the importance of democracies is because even though we have relations with most countries of the world, if we are to live in a world that protects international norms, something that you, Prime Minister Modi, talk about all the time, then we must have, of course, the ability to protect those norms. And democracies bind to each other, connect to each other in natural ways. We are I think, naturally sympathetic to India. When I walk in the streets of India, as I just did in Agra, I saw the sympathy and friendship of people. Somebody said to me, "We are so happy that you are friends with our Prime Minister and that he's friends with you. We are friends with you. We are friends with Israel." It's a natural friendship and a natural partnership of democratic and free peoples. Our way of life is being challenged. Most notably, the quest for modernity, the quest for innovation is being challenged by radical Islam and its terrorist offshoots from a variety of corners, and this can upset the international system. I think that one of the ways to overcome such a challenge is to strengthen the relationship between our two great democracies. The alliance of democracies, I think, is important to secure our common future. I believe that the possibilities are endless. We have discussed in this visit how we can strengthen our two nations in the civilian areas, in security areas, in every area. It is something I look forward to do. I want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity to bring to India to Israel and Israel to India. Your historic visit broke ground. You were the first leader of India to come to Israel in 3,000 years. Let us hope it will not take long for your next visit. I know that, but I want to tell you how delighted we are in Israel. I want to tell you that we believe in India as you believe in Israel. Good luck to India, good luck to Israel, and may God bless the Indian-Israel alliance. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in applauding a wonderful inaugural speech. May I now request the Honorable External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, to please deliver the closing remarks and propose a vote of thanks.
Namaskar. Very good evening. Prime Minister Netanyahu and myself, we are long and short of this dialogue. Generally, this creates problems for the organizers for setting the mic. But I think here the organizers had already organized this. Thank you, organizers. Friends, I deem it my privilege and honor to propose vote of thanks on this rare occasion. Deliberately, I am using the word rare. When Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking from the podium, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi sitting in the audience. This is a rare occasion, a rare scene. I wish to express my appreciation to Prime Minister Netanyahu for delivering a short but truly inspiring and memorable inaugural address. The visit of Prime Minister Netanyahu to India, like the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Israel 6 months ago, underlines the celebration of 25 years of diplomatic relations between India and Israel. In this quarter of a century, our partnership has indeed come a very long way. Israel is not only a reliable friend in defense and economic development, especially in agriculture and water. Its startup culture serves as an inspiration to our own efforts in that regard. These contemporary facets of cooperation are built on historical links between our peoples. The edition of this, third edition of this Raisina dialogue is focused on disruptive transitions. I am sure you'll all agree that Prime Minister Netanyahu's address has provided us a valuable perspective from a region that is so central to global peace and prosperity. There could be no better start to our deliberations. Thank you, Excellency Prime Minister Netanyahu. Friends, now I would like to thank Prime Minister Modi for joining us at this inaugural session. Your presence, Pradhan Mantriji, will serve as an inspiration to the dialogue as we discuss on the ideas, idioms and institutions impacted by the transition. Hardik Dhanyavad. Friends, I would also like to thank the Observer Research Foundation who have partnered the Ministry of External Affairs in this endeavor. I am confident that their organization skills and commitment will make for a very successful conference. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome and thank all distinguished speakers who have gathered here from different parts of the world. I am sure that their deliberations over the next 3 days will generate fresh ideas, insights and solutions to our common global challenges. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our informed audience without whom and without whose participation and involvement no such dialogue is complete. Before I conclude, I wish the dialogue successful deliberations and a complete success. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Madam Foreign Minister. We will be hearing from you tomorrow morning. With this, we conclude the inaugural ceremony. Can I request you all to remain seated as the dignitaries leave the room? You will, of course, be able to leave the venue once the security details allow us to. So please bear with me. Thank you.